So guys, what if Naruto x Nunnally x Harem movie? In an empty dark space, loud, ear-shattering sounds of explosions and thunderclaps were heard as in the middle of the emptiness were 5 individuals engaged in heavy combat. "Come on. We are almost there," cheered a young man covered in yellow spiritual flames and 9 black orbs surrounding his body. This youngster is none other than Naruto Uzumaki using the 6-path Senjutsu mode. "She should be running out of options," a dark-haired teen agreed as he coughed out some blood. After wiping some of it from his chin, he lifted his face, showing his unique eyes. One was a red-colored eye with an odd, almost in a kaleidoscope-style 6-pointed star with 3 black triangles in them, while the other eye was light lavender in color with a ripple-like effect of solid lines around that also had 6 tomos with 3 on the first 2 lines after the pupil. This is Sasuke Uchiha, a dangerous criminal known throughout elemental nations, but currently he is an ally for Naruto, fighting against a powerful enemy. "Sasuke, do you need healing?" a pink-haired woman asked in concern as she had her hands ready with green energy to use if needed to save her comrades. This was Sakura Haruno, the student of Tsunade Senju, who was making sure she was ready to provide medical assistance and did her best to keep up with her teammates. "One more attack and we should be able to stop this," a silver-haired man said with hair that seemed to defy gravity as it pointed upward with no kind of help such as gel. Just like Sasuke's, his eyes were red with 3 tomos in them. "You hear that, Kagaya? We will not let you do as you please." Before them, floating in the air with the grace of a goddess, was the strongest foe they have ever faced. A pale-skinned woman with delicate facial features fit for royalty. She had extremely long, sweeping white hair. She possessed white clear eyes and her eyebrows were cut very short and round, a symbol of nobility, with her lips being rose-red in color. She wore a high-collared Harem kimono which had tomo running down the center and edges of the gown, along also adorned with intricate gold and purple lines. The name of this individual was Kagaya Otsutsuki, the mother of chakra, the mastermind of a scheme that nearly caused the destruction of all of elemental nations. Her dress and body showed signs of abuse from the attacks she suffered from the team. "I cannot allow myself to be beaten by the likes of you, not when I am so close to victory," she said in a calm and regal tone fit for her status. "Just because you think you know what's best doesn't mean it's right," Naruto shouted as his team nodded at his words. "You're almost out of chakra, I can feel it. You can't fight much longer compared to the rest of us," he said while popping a medicine pill to heal some of his wounds sustained during the battle. "While we got some pick-me-ups, although Sakura could make them taste a bit bedoof." "Then you make it, baka," the pink-haired girl roared, hating how Naruto's dense and brutally honest habits were still working at a time like this. "Perhaps you are right." The team instantly turned to the woman who sneered at the lesser beings she saw them as. "You might have the upper hand right now, but this doesn't mean that I am out of options. I shall retreat, for now, but do not mistake this as my defeat. I will return once my power is replenished, and when I do, I will end your miserable existence," she stated as a black portal opened up behind her. "Stop her," Kakashi ordered while his eyes widened in horror. If she leaves now, there was no way they would be able to escape this empty realm. Sasuke's eyes glowed with power as purple flames ignited around him. A skeleton-like hand came from the ground and gently grabbed them. "Now Sasuke," Naruto shouted as the dark-haired shinobi made the hand throw them towards the Kagaya's location. While in the air, Naruto created a blue sphere in one of his hands while Sasuke straightened out his hand as blue lighting danced around it. "You fools, ignorant children who dare to raise their hands against a goddess!" Kagaya screamed in anger as she grabbed both of the male's hands, stopping their attacks, only to cry out in pain the next moment when Sakura leapt over her teammates and punched Kagaya's pristine face with one of her chakra-empowered fists. Soon after, the woman was tackled by Kakashi, who prepared to deliver the final blow. But Kagaya wasn't ready to go down just yet. Before she hit the ground, she threw herself and him into the portal she had created. "Kakashi-sensei!" The 3 teens screamed before rushing into the portal themselves. Once they went through it, they saw Kakashi wrestling with the ancestral woman as she tried to get free from his grasp and strike back. This proved to be a mistake as in her anger the self-proclaimed goddess let her control over the portal. All round them the tube-like tunnel started shifting, black portals opening and closing constantly as they continued to pass by dozens of them. "Why must you all deny peace?" she shouted, her calm composure from earlier completely forgotten. "I will end." A punch from Kakashi interrupted her. "I will then a kick from Sasuke. I will. Then from the pain of having her hair pulled hard by Sakura, will you Santo, what are you doing? Kagaya deadpanned as Naruto stuck a finger in her nose. The rest of the team's sweat dropped as the said blonde simply shrugged his shoulders. What? I couldn't think of anything else, so I improvised. He stated with a pout, like a kid being told not to curse in public. Using the moment of distraction to her advantage, Kagaya opened her eyes wide and unleashed powerful shockwave, pushing her opponents away from her. But before she could prepare another attack, she gasped in horror as her hand started to fade. No, she quickly looked at her other hand and saw that it was also fading. Fear started to creep into her face. The members of Team 7 looked in slight horror as the woman started to fade out from their sights. Said woman quickly moved forward to where Sasuke and Naruto were, trying to reach out to them. Please, don't let me go, she pleaded while they looked at her with shocked expressions. I was so close, please, help me. I don't want it to end like this, she managed to plead for one final time before completely vanishing from existence. Naruto, look out, Sakura cried out, worry. The blonde tried to regain his focus, but was too late as a strange beam of light hit him in the head. The beam shattered upon making contact and was strong enough to knock him out. Like a doll with its strings cut off, Naruto started to fall into one of the black portals. Sasuke tried to shout out before he too was hit upside his head by another beam of light that came out of nowhere. Rendered unconsciousness, he was unable to do anything as he also starting falling into a different black portal. No. Sakura and Kakashi chased after the two knockout members of the team, but they didn't make it in time to stop the two from falling into the portals. Sakura, get Sasuke. I'll go after Naruto, the silver-haired man ordered before reaching out towards the portal, and then, everything was covered in a blinding white light. XXXXXXXXXXX. Question mark. XXXXXXXXXX. A young boy at the age of 9 wearing a black and orange suit, that was nearly ripped apart, woke up to the hot rays of sunlight hitting him. He groaned as he slowly stood up. Where am I? He said in confusion before a black fabric fell from his head, showing a metal plate attached to it with a strange symbol that he had never seen engraved on it. After inspecting the strange item, the young boy started to look around in hopes to find something, anything, that would allow him to understand his current predicament. But all that he saw was mountains of hot sand as far as I can see. The only thing that stood out in the whole scenery was a small oasis that had several palm trees and a small pond of water. Quickly walking over, he sat down in the shade of the trees, saving himself from the blazing heat that would have burned his body. Hey you, he heard a rough voice shout out from not too far. Turning into the direction the voice came from, Naruto spotted few brutish-looking men leering at him with dark glints in their eyes. Seems that we found a good slave to sell. I can tell from his Britannian looks that he will make a one-of-a-kind slave among the Chinese royalties. The blonde glared at them, not really sure on what they meant, but he quickly noticed how they were slowly taking out their swords. Don't resist or cause any trouble and I'll make sure to sell you to a pretty woman that could use a cute slave like you. The child snarled at them in anger before quickly lunging forward, shocking the slavers at how fast the young child was. By the time they were ready to defend themselves, Naruto was already upon them. Few moments later the sands were drinking fresh red liquid. After the deed was done, the teen wore new clothes and took all of the slavers' possessions. Returning back to the shade of palm trees, the blonde started to wonder where he was, and more importantly, who he was. XXXXXXXXXXX. Months later. XXXXXXXXXX. Munch munch. A young blonde boy ate some noodles from a bag as he was surrounded by a dozen of dead bodies. The foul stench of corpses lingered in the air while the smell of blood nauseated his nose. He didn't say anything in complaint and continued in devouring his food at a slow pace. Who knows when he will get another chance at good meal like this? Life in the desert is hard and small bandit groups like this are hard to encounter. Best to enjoy the good food for as long as it lasts. But when the boy tried to take another bite, he suddenly missed the treat between his utensils. It fell, he muttered before looking up and realizing why he missed it. Someone put their hand on the top of his head. It was an elderly man with a long white beard. Who are you? He questioned, looking at the old man with a blank stare. I am under orders from my emperor to search of a fearsome corpse-eating demon, said to be the bane of desert travelers, but I would have never imagined that it would actually turn out to be but a small child. He chuckled before his hand was slapped away by the said child. The boy took a weapon from a nearby corpse. A Jian and Dao, two deadly Chinese swords, before getting into a somewhat similar stance that he had seen his foes use. Interesting, a child using the weapons of the foes he killed to protect himself. The old man's hands went to his belt that carried a short sword. Naruto stiffened as he felt that this man was going to be a much bigger challenge than any other he has faced so far. He quickly adjusted his style into a more loose one, crouching low while holding the weapons close to his side. From the outside it looked like a lion or tiger ready to pounce on its prey on a moment's notice. It was a style created from pure instinct alone, and so far, it has never failed to kill any of his opponents. What do you want? Are you here to kill me? Or are you going to try to capture me to be sold as a slave, like these men have tried and failed? The blonde boy asked in a low, but aggressive tone. No, the old man calmly answered as he pulled out his weapon and tossed it towards the kid. The boy was able to grab it before it hit him, but he wasn't prepared in how incredibly heavy the sword will be as his hands started to shake from the sheer weight of it. Even the armor of his fallen enemies was lighter than this. Impressive. Even grown men have trouble holding this sword, much less manage to grab it out of air without hurting their arms. For a young child to be able to accomplish this shows great potential. He praised kindly before turning around and beginning to leave. If you wish to learn to not only hold, but also to effectively wield this weapon, then follow me, or you can simply keep it and stay here in hopes for another meal to arrive. I'll tell the emperor there wasn't any demon out here after all. The child looked at the retreating mon's back before directing his gaze at the odd weapon in his hands. Soon, two sets of footprints could be seen on the ground before heavy winds caused the sands to shift, making them vanish. What is your name, young one? It's Naruto. XXXXXXXXXXX. 1 month later. XXXXXXXXXX. Kya. A blonde child jumped forward, swiping his fist to knock out a wooden dummy's head without any problems, then proceeded to kick it into the roof where it finally shattered. Ha! Good, good, you're improving, the old man complimented as he approached the child. Standing to the side was another old man, wearing regal robes fit for a king. The man carefully observed the young student. You see, Emperor Yao. Young Naruto here has an uncanny fighting potential. His ability to learn and adapt is also extraordinary. I see, the emperor nodded in approval as he gave the young boy, now known as Naruto, a scrutinizing look. He does show much promise. Haha, you always did keep compliments to a minimum unless it's directed to the little lady. Old friend, the old man said cheerfully before looking towards Naruto. That is enough for now, young apprentice, come over here. Yes, Shifu, the boy nodded before walking over and standing next to his teacher. The boy then faced the regal man who studied Naruto with a cold look. So this is the corpse-eating demon? Yao said in contemplative voice. I admit that he is strong for someone his age, but killing a small group of bandits. It's a bit hard to believe that this young child could accomplish it. That it is, but do not let appearances deceive you. The teacher of the young man cautioned. He is anything but a regular boy. I believe he might be a good candidate as your daughter's personal bodyguard since the last one perished not too long ago, the teacher advised before sending a fist at Naruto. The young man quickly spread his legs to lower his center of gravity and barely managed to dodge the hit. He then quickly recovered and assumed a basic fighting style taught to him by his master. You see, even some of my best students have a hard time reacting, much less dogging this sudden attack. HMPH, the emperor nodded, acknowledging his close friend's abilities, and by extension his students, before looking at Naruto again. Boy, do you know why you have been brought here? No, I don't. I've been offered training and I agreed, Naruto stated plainly as his teacher chuckled at his brash nature. He then put his hand on the boy's shoulder, causing him to look up at his teacher. This here is the heavenly Emperor Yao, Emperor of the Great Chinese Federation, and my oldest and closest friend, he explained, and afterwards smirked at how Naruto simply nodded dumbly, showing an uncaring attitude to this important piece of information. After a few moments passed in silent contemplation, Emperor Yao came up with a decision. I will trust your judgment and allow you to continue in training this boy, Jin. I expect nothing but the best results. Of course, old friend, I will not let you down. The old man, now named Jin, bowed in gratitude. And you young lad, once you have completed your training and are of coming age, you will be officially assigned your duties. Your teacher is one of the best warriors in China, so you have great expectations placed upon your shoulders, but having someone well known as Jin to be your teacher also grants you some perks like having a higher social status in our country. What do those Brits say? Nobel oblige. Noblesse oblige, Jin corrected after he noticed Naruto looking confused. The boy didn't understand what the emperor meant. Noble obligation. You may have great power, but you always have to make sure that you do what's right. That is what a noble is supposed to do. Put those in need for help before himself, a trait that is slowly dying in this world. Oh, that's fine, as long as I get to eat my meals, Naruto stated firmly while the emperor nodded at his answer. Also, Jin, make sure Naruto attends the party so he can meet his future charge, the man said with a dark smirk. The teacher himself chuckled lightly before nodding in acknowledgement. Excellent, carry on. After the emperor left, Naruto turned to the old man who saved him from his time of isolation and killing. After internally thinking for a while, he finally decided to ask, Shifu, just who in the world are you? The idea to ask about his identity didn't come to him before, as that the boy only cared about how this old man will make him stronger. But after being brought into such a big city and getting to meet an important person like the Chinese emperor, the boy simply had to know more about his teacher. What do you mean? Jin inquired calmly, trying his best not to look like the cat who swallowed the bird. You're an extremely skilled fighter. You have a friend who is the leader of a nation, and on top of it all, I gained high social standing just by being your apprentice. Why are you helping me so much? Why, you asked. Jin pondered while slowly pacing around the training area. That is a fair question. Why? He retorted. Sometimes, in life, the answers you seek tend to be vague and hard to find. While I could give you the easy way out and provide the answer here and now, but the path of self-improvement is often riddled with hardships. That's why I want you to answer that question by yourself, to come up with your own conclusion, and discovering and understanding the meaning behind it. That makes no sense, Naruto stated in an annoyed tone, which only made Jin heartily laugh in return. For now, it does not. You are but a student who is still learning, but in time, you will understand. You have a long life ahead, so the answers you seek will come to you eventually. But I still would like to know what I am training for, the young child asked as his teacher now stood in front of a large wooden door that he told Naruto to never open until he had given permission. What are you teaching me to do? With a flick from a single finger, the door flung open to show hundreds of people of all ages dressed in orange and yellow robes training. Some were fighting each other and practicing various attack moves. Some were quickly stabbing their fingertips into pots under roaring fires without flinching or showing any signs of pain when doing it. When all of them noticed Jin, they quickly stopped their exercises. Afterwards, all of them as one tuned to face Jin and sent their right fists into their open left palms. Shifu. They cried out loudly in respect. Naruto went wide-eyed at the sight of so many students. What is this? My monastery, Jin said while walking down the steps towards the training grounds. He motioned for the students to continue with their training, or to be more specific, this is a Shaolin monastery. You do know what that is, right? Naruto looked down, trying his best to remember, but with such limited memories he couldn't think of any connection. No, Shifu. I see. I guess it's understandable taking into account your situation. The Shaolin Monastery is a place where we train our students to hone one's kung fu fighting skills, clearing the mind, body, and soul of any negativity that this world throws at us, he said before stopping and taking a nearby stick to push a student's knee out more. Fix the stance how, he ordered while the student nodded in understanding. Naruto, odd as it may be, I am not really that much a gentle person as many people seem to believe. I am teaching my skills in hopes that one day someone powerful and dedicated enough will rise up to protect my home, China, from any evil forces that might threaten it. But, alas, many of the current Chinese royalty believe that learning hand-to-hand combat is useless and should be forgotten. Instead, they endlessly preach that swordsmanship and modern weapons are the way of the future that will always prevail. Naruto nodded in understanding, remembering from personal experience how he almost died a few times from these odd weapons that shot out metal spheres at him. He was lucky that he was able to react to his enemy's hand movements in time and was able to dodge the insanely fast objects before they could take proper aim. So, why continue? Why continue to struggle so much? Well, if you must know, my efforts aren't going to waste. My students do keep the peace on the streets around the Forbidden City. Some of my older students, including myself, have also gained the rare privilege of serving as elite bodyguards for the Emperor. Sight unfortunately, with how the modern era is quickly snuffing out the traditions of old, I fear that this world will one day collapse under the weight of its own neglect. After thinking for a while, Naruto finally came to a conclusion. So you're training me in hopes that one day I would be one of the people who would rise up as the protectors of China. Naruto stated while looking at how some of the younger male students were playing a game of tag with some of the female students. Yes, Jin answered with a small grin. Despite your talents, Naruto, you are an oddity among people. You possess a strange disconnection from our world. Like you're walking in a dream. I believe that this is why you can kill so easily without fear or hesitation. This also allowed me to test an old idea mine. Can I teach the best of all the fighting styles to someone so young of age that shows no hesitation at the sight of death? Jin said as he and Naruto entered a garden with a large peach tree in the center. You want me to become your successor? Naruto asked. The answer to that would be no, and yes, he said with a huff and walked close to the tree. Upon reaching it, he gave it a small kick to get a peach fall into his hand. You're not making any sense again. Naruto sighed in frustration. To have you as my successor would definitely be wonderful. But remember what the Emperor has told you before. Once you come of age you will be assigned your duties as the protector of Emperor's daughter. Hey. In some ways she also like my goddaughter, Jin explained as he passed the fruit he ate to Naruto, who he also took a bite of it. She is quite shy, and also very insecure of herself. If her father and I were to die too early, those high eunuchs that call themselves nobles would abuse her ignorance so they could secure themselves easy and pampered lives. So, you want me to protect her from enemies that are not only outside China, but inside as well, Naruto guessed. Sigh. While that does certainly summarize the scope of your future duties, you didn't fully realize what I require from you. He said with a look of disapproval on his face. She needs a friend, her mother died some time ago. She was the only person she looked up to and meant the world to her. While her father does his best to comfort her, his duties as an emperor prevent him from spending too much time with her. As it stands right now, she needs more than a simple bodyguard, she needs a pillar of strength to lean on to. Someone who could help her to get through these difficult times and find strength to move on. When I first found you in the desert, my first thought was that you looked like a cornered beast that was ready to kill anyone to ensure its survival. But then I looked deep into your eyes and I saw more than a starving beast within them. I saw immense willpower and fortitude, and this might be just me going senile, but I also saw kindness buried deep within them. Naruto stared at the old man as he pondered over his words. For some unknown reason, he felt that he can understand the girl's pain. The feeling of not having parents around when you need them the most, somehow, that hurt him. If it helps, it's not like you're going to be tied to her your whole life is. You can do lots of other things or even get married, as long as in the future you train an heir or a student that could succeed in your duties, the Grand Master stated while gesturing at the monastery. From the moment you became my apprentice, this place became a home that you will always be welcomed. Not even the Emperor would dare to tear it down, not when so much history was placed here. At those words Naruto went into deep concentration, his mind working overtime in trying to figure if he should accept or refuse what is offered to him. After a while the decision was made. I'll do it. Sighed. As I thought, I guess it's too much to ask for a young child to, wait, come again. He quickly said the last words as he didn't believe what he had heard. I said I'll do it, Naruto repeated. Jin sighed in relief. Naruto, he walked and placed both hands on the child's shoulders. You will be a child of great promise, I will make sure of it. He vowed as the boy couldn't help but smile at those words. However, Jun, Rin, Sao. Three beautiful girls quickly line up behind the old man. Ahem, this is Naruto. Naruto, those are your teachers. Wait, what? Naruto looked shocked. I thought you would be the one teaching me. What gives? The reason he was screaming was the fact that somehow, in the span of a moment, the girls managed to quickly surround him, and started to undress him. Sir Jin, he is quite musky and dirty, permission to bath him straight away. The oldest girl with green hair asked while smiling. She seemed way too eager in requesting to perform that task. Excuse me, Naruto gawked, also to cut his hair and frame his face. A girl with two buns holding her hair said, getting a pair of short shears to do her task. My hair's perfectly fine. URK. Such dirty clothes. Might I measure out his new clothes with my hands? The last girl said, the most plain yet amazing one of them, already unbuckling Naruto's pants. No, wait, don't touch me there. Naruto panicked, trying to push the girl's hands away from his pants. Shifu, get her off me. Haha. Those girls are the Emperor's deceased wife's handmaidens. Forgive them for their forwardness, but they are going to make sure you pass as royal member of the court when the time to attend the royal party arrives. After training you will be educated in how nobles acts off and on the palace. He then turned around to leave with a wave of goodbye. Do be a good boy and behave. No, don't leave me with them. Shifu, you traitor. Naruto wailed, struggling to free himself from the handmaidens, but they would not let him go. First we need to show you how to properly bathe. Every inch must be scrubbed and lathered like lovers touch, the girls said in unison as they pushed the boy, with surprising strength no less, to the bath they were going to give him. I can take a bath myself just fine. Naruto cried out as they have arrived at the said bath, which actually was a huge bathhouse that looked like only the most privileged could enter. The moment he was forced in, the doors were slammed shut and locked. Several moments later, oh God, why does it hurt? I thought we were taking a bath, not torture. XXXXXXXXXXX. Outside the bathhouse. XXXXXXXXXX. Jin and the other students were outside of the bathhouse door, casually drinking tea and eating peaches that fell from the tree. Shifu, is this what you went through when you trained to stand by the Emperor's side? The said man shook his head in negative while at the same time laughing quite loudly. He, hell no. While my training was pretty grueling, it was never this intense. He. Ah, the smell from this soap burns. The other students all winced as they wondered what is happening there, while Jin just continued to listen and eat his food. You witch, you fucking waxed my legs. Are you sure he's okay in there? Another student asked worriedly. Hell be fine, besides, I thought bathing with pretty ladies was a fantasy that all boys had. Jin said as the other students simply shrugged in response. Let it be known that monks really do have no drive for UAL thoughts. XXXXXXXXX. A few hours later. XXXXXXXXX. He. Well, look at you, don't you look fancy? Jin chuckled. Shut up. Naruto growled as he lost any dirt or grime that he had before the bath. He now wore something that was akin to that of a kimono, but was more of a robe. The undergarment was a gray shirt and over that was a yellow robe with gray wrist sleeves. It was adorned by a long sleeveless dark red vest that looked similar to a jinbaori that fell all the way down and had orange to complement the color scheme. The boy also wore a matching dark red sash to keep it all together. The girls were ecstatic to finally pamper someone again. The teacher of Naruto said as he patted the boy's head, I know it must have been rough, but you made them happy again, so thanks. My skin is red all over. Did I mention that it was bleeding in some places too? Naruto deadpanned, making Jin laugh again. So I have to wear these. He tried to move, and almost fell over, but managed to correct his balance in time, constricting robes that barely pass as clothes. No, not all the time, only every now and then, like the party we're about to attend. Jin shook his head. Why do we have to attend? Beside to protect your friend and his daughter. Naruto inquired as he loosened the belt on his waist. Ah, much better, he sighed in relief, stretching his stomach that was almost close to death from being restrained so much. Seriously. Why? Because these royal idiots believe kissing up to the Emperor will get them a better life. We are here to intercept them and weed out the ones who are not worthy and scout out those who are, Jin stated firmly. Will any of them actually stick out like that? Naruto questioned. No. Generations of preparations and practice turned them into almost perfect actors who hide their ill intentions well. They cover themselves with fake emotions and lies like it was suit of armor, but no matter how strong that armor might be, everyone has a weak point. Just follow your gut and eventually you will find it. That's what I've been always doing, Jin said before moving towards the large double doors. This way is to the palace from our temple. We always stay close to our charges, we only leave when they ask of us to or when it's time for meals. Fine by me, Naruto shrugged and nodded in understanding. And most importantly, behave yourself, try to make a good first impression for our emperor, and more importantly, Lady Tianzi. It might prove difficult, but try your best to gain her trust and make her feel happy. Remember, she is in a difficult emotional state right now and needs someone she can depend on," Jin said seriously while Naruto again nodded, but this time with a more serious expression as well. The blonde then walked beside Jin as they secretly entered the room where dozens of other royalty were dancing, eating luxurious food and socializing with others of the same status. "Follow me," Jin ordered silently as he moved towards the man sitting at the throne, along with a young girl 2 years younger than Naruto. She had a slightly timid and doll-like appearance with pale skin, white hair, and red eyes. Her hair was made in an elaborate style fit for Chinese royalty, and her wardrobe was beautiful and highly decorative. "Ah Jin," the emperor said as he stood up, smiling after noticing his longtime friend, "I was beginning to wonder if I had to call the royal guard to get you." "Nonsense old friend, as you can see, I've arrived and am perfectly safe. I might be old, but this senior is more than ready to perform his duties," Jin chuckled, before looking at Naruto. "I haven't gotten enough time to teach Naruto everything, but he can at least dress the part until we do," he said with an apologetic tone. "It's perfectly fine. First impressions aren't always everything," the emperor replied in a friendly manner. "You've changed my old friend. You used to be." The two continued to talk as if it was an everyday normal event while the other royalty glared at Jin and Yao, knowing that they can't approach the emperor when they were chatting like that. So, after finishing the talk, Jin waved kindly at the young girl that was still standing beside her father. "Lady Tianzi, how are you this evening?" The young girl blushed deep red before trying to speak up, only to stop short every time she managed to get barely a syllable out. She soon looked downwards in defeat as her father rubbed the top of her head in a calm fashion. "It's all right Tianzi, don't be shy, he's our friend, remember?" Yao smiled fatherly. Why yes, father," she stuttered shyly. It was almost painful to see her try to finish that sentence, or lack of it. "What's with that girl?" Naruto thought to himself, looking intently at her. Jin." He coughed to remind his existence to his teacher. "May I ask for an introduction?" "Oh, yes, of course." Jin caught lightly into his hand and then pulled Naruto towards the girl whose eyes widened a bit in fright at the sight of the boy. "Lady Tianzi, there's someone who would like to meet you. Come, child." Naruto stood tall and gave a comforting smile to the young lady. "Hello princess," he said while glancing at Jin who was shaking his head comically. "Queen." Another shake. Miss." Jin at this point was sweating profusely as he was shaking his head rapidly. Lady." He looked to Jin who nodded approvingly. Lady Tianzi, my name is Naruto, it's nice to meet you," he bowed to her. Tianzi merely looked at the ground, clearly not going to open up to him due to her shyness. He swears that this situation somehow felt very familiar to him, but quickly put away the sensation to the back of his mind. The blonde boy lightly scratched his cheek while wondering on what to do, until it hit him. He looked at his teacher and voiced his idea. "Shifu, may I take Tianzi away from the party?" he asked as Yao sent a look of cautiousness towards Naruto. "I swear that I will do my best to protect her, Emperor Yao. I just feel that she is a bit overwhelmed by the current atmosphere and needs to relax outside of the huge gathering. That way you and Shifu would have your own private time to mingle while she rests for a bit," Naruto concluded with a smile that only a kid could wear without looking suspicious. Tianzi looked at the blonde with wide eyes. He was going to help her leave. She continued to stare at him as his teacher glanced at the emperor who was currently contemplating the young boy's words. Jin pondered at this. Not even half an hour passed since they arrived at the party and Naruto already picked up some ideas on how things work around the palace. "I believe that this is an excellent idea, Your Highness. Such parties can be stuffy and some fresh air will help Lady Tianzi to relax." "Are you sure about this, Jin?" Yao asked curiously. Jin leaned in a bit towards the emperor. "I have faith in my apprentice. He has great talent and not to mention, might actually have a chance at breaking down the wall your daughter has set up ever since your wife died," he quietly added as the father of Tianzi nodded solemnly. "Naruto, you're still not familiar with the palace layout, so let Tianzi be your guide. Remember, this palace is massive, so don't get lost," he ordered Naruto while looking directly into the boy's eyes to emphasize the importance of the task. "Yes sir." Naruto nodded firmly. Yao looked at the boy and thought before saying, "Very well, young man, I'll leave my daughter in your care. For now, make sure no harm whatsoever befalls her." After bowing to the emperor, The boy moved towards Tianzi and bowed again. Whenever you are ready, my lady. This way, Tianzi stuttered before leading Naruto away from the party. Well, that's one less thing to worry about, Jin said to Yao before sending him a look of concern. How much longer? Yao gave a rueful smile. Don't worry too much about it, it'll last with you by my side and until she is ready to stand tall on her own, the emperor answered as his partner chuckled while stroking his long beard. Hey, I suppose so. XXXXXXXXX. Palace Main Hall. XXXXXXXXX. After exiting the party, the young lady walked nervously with Naruto following her shadow quietly. She kept wondering, where would she take him? Where would be somewhere he would like? So, is there any place in the palace you would like to go? Naruto questioned, making her squeak. What? Did he just ask her where she wanted to go? The young white-haired girl looked downwards. I am not really sure. This is the first I was asked by some to be a guide. Usually I am the one that is always being guided by palace servants. The blonde's eyes widen at that. Was she that sheltered by everyone? To the point that she can't even have a chance to go somewhere on her own whims. Oh, well, don't worry about it. Besides, this whole place is big anyways, and Naruto tried to make an excuse to make her not to worry much about being a guide, but was suddenly interrupted. Guess. The balcony, in Mother's room, Mother's old room, Tianzi answered softly and slightly crestfallen. Whenever I think about her, I would go to the balcony outside of her room and stargaze. Naruto nodded as he looked around. Sounds like a plan. You gonna show me where it is? He chuckled as the girl blushed a bit at forgetting that she is the one acting as a guide. Once again she started walking and he followed. The blonde also took notice how her posture while walking changed a bit. She no longer looked as nervous and her steps were a bit more firm. It looks like she is not too far gone into depression. I need to make sure to interact with her as much as possible. Having someone to talk to and hang out with helps to distract her from her own painful thoughts and gain more confidence. Even a little of it is better than nothing, Naruto thought. After walking for a bit and climbing 2 flights of stairs, they finally arrived at Tianzi's mother's old bedroom. The two soon entered an elegant room that Naruto noticed was untouched for quite some time. Given on how dusty it was, they could have at least changed the bed sheets and linens every now and then. The young man however noticed something else as well. The bed had a necklace on it, and the nightstand had a picture on it. It was watercolor portrait of a woman that almost looked like Tianzi. But she was clearly older and had slight bags under her eyes. The portrait also had a younger-looking Emperor Yao in it, who was holding a baby with small tuft of white hair. He took the picture off its nightstand before placing back up. He soon heard the door to the balcony opening and rushed to see Tianzi looking out in the night sky. She stared into the starry sky as Naruto softly closed the door behind him before joining her. I always wanted to visit here, but father wouldn't let me. Why? Naruto asked while sitting down. I mean, it's your mom's room. She passed away a few years ago. Father said it was not natural. She said silently, clearly not understanding what it really meant, while Naruto clearly did. During his time in the desert he had taken many lives, and some of them were taken when the victim was still sleeping and unaware of the incoming death. Some of them still managed to open their eyes for one final time and he witnessed light fading away in them. He keeps saying that there might be something dangerous in the room and that I need to stay away from it. At those words Naruto saw clear signs of her going back into depression and had to think of something fast. After taking a quick look around, he noticed that a bit further away to the side there was another balcony that was similar to the one they were currently standing in. He guessed it might have also been a bedroom that was either for close relatives or guests of high importance, and this gave him a perfect idea. Lady Tianzi, that balcony over there, is it also part of a bedroom? Maybe a room where guests stay at? Naruto asked gently while the girl was startled by the sudden question. After thinking over for a bit she nodded. Then I have an awesome idea. What if I asked your father if I could live in that room? While it might not be your mother's bedroom, but it also has a balcony, so whenever you want to go stargazing or talk to someone you could always visit me. After a few moments passed the boy took a step back when he saw the younger girl shedding tears. Her left hand that rested on the balcony rail gripped it hard. Why are you doing so much for me? We only met not long ago and you barely even know me, so why? She asked as the blonde quickly wondered about that himself. He could say that it's part of his future job as her personal bodyguard, but looking at Tianzi's honest and lonely eyes, it might not be the best answer and it might make her even more upset. After thinking for a bit, he finally came up with an appropriate and honest answer. He brought his hand up to his head, scratching the back of it gently. Well, isn't that what friends do for each other? Tianzi looked wide-eyes at Naruto, blushing slightly at his friendly smile. Friends? She asked, as if the very word was an entirely new concept to her. The young man walked forward and kneeled when he reached her personal space, taking her hand into his own. He bowed his head slightly. It might be a bit too straightforward, but will you grant the honor for this good-for-nothing person in becoming your very first friend? He smiled at his jab at himself. Why yes, she squeaked happily with a smile so bright, it could match the beauty of the stars. I will speak with father right away and make sure you will have everything in Aoi. Naruto gently flicked her forehead with a deadpan expression. First rule of friends, you don't make big promises until you are certain that everything will work out. Sniffling a bit while holding her forehead, Tianzi looked confused at his words. What do you mean? She asked as Naruto looked at the sky for a brief moment, before looking back at her. Hey, don't worry about it, you will understand what I meant once you learn what it means to be a true friend, Lady Tianzi. XXXXXXXXXX. 1 year later. XXXXXXXXX. Jin grabbed a fist that Naruto threw and at the same time the younger male slammed his foot on the ground to lift his body to quickly send his other foot at hit his teacher's chest. Enough of the brawling. He ordered and with skill and grace of a grandmaster his other hand quickly force-palmed the limb downwards. He moved towards Naruto as one hand his head down while the other hit it back upwards with the blonde still in the air, spinning him around as the man watched when the kid fell onto the floor hard. Naruto. The young man watched as his friend, Tianzi, quickly rushed to his side to help, but he raised his hand to stop her and he smiled. It's fine, hey, I haven't gotten a good beat down like that in quite a while, he said while cracking his back as Jin didn't lose any kind of hold in his stance. That was quite amazing. Shifu, were you holding back all this time? The teacher didn't say anything as Naruto rushed at him again. Jumping forward to do a kick, the older man sidestepped the kick and raised his arms to block a follow-up sideswiping punch when Naruto landed and tried to capitalize his step to send the force into his next hit, which Jin blocked perfectly. Sliding his foot to trip over Naruto, the kid grabbed his robe in effort to pull him down as well. The Grandmaster, however, slammed his fist into Naruto's sternum when bending downward, making Naruto let go and grip his stomach. That's it, he said with a calm smile as Tianzi rushed towards Naruto, checking his body as the older male sat up with a smile. Not bad, Naruto, your intense training seems to be paying off. This is the first time in a while since I had to actually fight back. However, his words didn't reach the two as Tianzi was talking to Naruto. You don't have to keep training like this, she said with a small frown. The royal guards are enough to protect me. Hey, the old man tried to get their attention. But at the same time Naruto spoke, cutting Jin off as the man seemed visibly depressed at being dismissed so easily. Well, of course I know that they can, but do remember that I made a promise to protect you as well, and I will never break my promises, he said with a lady killer smile. Tianzi seemed to pout as she blushed a bit, and Naruto. I feel completely ignored, Jin said astonished, but he still had to remind his students of something. Naruto, your request to leave the palace to go to the city was granted, except for Lady Tianzi. The eunuchs greatly requested for her to stay here, he said while the girl looked down, feeling depressed from being denied her wish. Well, I said my piece and it's time for me to go meditate. I'd say for about 5 hours, Naruto, make sure you watch over her until then. Geez, laying it thick there, old man, Naruto said, smiling smugly as he saw his teacher leave in a huff. Tianzi looked oddly at Naruto. What do you mean? She asked as the boy chuckled. You don't have to stay and walk. She was interrupted when the blonde boy placed a finger on her lips, making her blush as well in the process, before saying, Tianzi, we're going out today to do whatever you want, understand? The white-haired girl took a step back, but the eunuchs said. Quick question, are they the ones in charge? Naruto asked as he led her to the temple's living quarters. Soon entering his room, are they allowed to order around the only daughter of Emperor Yao? He walked up to his drawer and took out a few old clothes that he used to wear until some of the royal tailors made better and tighter clothing for him, or are in line for being the Empress of China since Wu Zetian. Well, that's the young lady tried and failed to come up with a proper answer. Understand. Good. Now, you're coming with me. You're gonna spend the day in the city with me whether you like it or not, though I doubt about the latter part of my statement. He chuckled awkwardly as the girl merely nodded. Ah. A year might have passed, but he still has a lot of work to do in fixing her shy nature, but at least she can somewhat make a decent conversation at this point than when they first met. Now, girls. Zoop. Asterisk. Eep. Tianzi was suddenly lifted up by the girls who now bathe Naruto on a daily basis, much to his continuous embarrassment. Who are they? You'll find out later. Girls, make sure to bath her properly and no funny stuff. Naruto said while giving them a firm look. Ah, the said girls looked down in disappointment. But do make sure doll her up, but not too much, make her look like a normal citizen of this area, Naruto ordered, passing the girls his old clothes as they gave dubious looks at each other. What are you waiting for? Get to it, she has a meeting outside to attend. He clapped 2 times as the girls, from all their training, nodded earnestly to take the girl away. Wait, Naruto, Tianzi cried out, ah, my panties. Oi, oi, I said no funny stuff. The blonde boy shouted over the hallway as the girls responded positively to his orders. Geez, those girls are way too dedicated on their work ethic. XXXXXXXXXX. Line break. XXXXXXXXX. Amazing. Tianzi said while running down the streets of her nation to see a crowded market. She was wearing orange monk robes that were a bit big for her as the maids had to use another belt to hike up the excess cloth to prevent her from tripping over, and made sure that the sleeves were covering her arms. Her hair was let down and hidden inside the robes to make sure that others think she had average length hair instead of the long one she is known for. All in all, she looked like an ordinary person, but with the beauty of a high-class status. Hey, slow down, we got plenty of sights to see. Naruto chuckled as he wore his normal outfit the same as Tianzi's, with a few golden amulets on it to show his status of being part of the higher court. They're not going anywhere, he joked, knowing that this is her first time she is actually seeing the world outside her palace. There's a lot of people. And lots of food too, she said moving to a stall that sell fast food, watching as the white charcoal created blue flames. Naruto quickly went to grab her hand when the princess almost stole a chicken skewer from the stall owner when he wasn't looking. Tia, those aren't for us, we have to pay for them, he said before looking at the owner. Hey, 2 skewers and an order of jade rice. Out of jade rice. Got some jasmine rice, the owner gruffly said before rudely pouring in a small amount of rice in bowls. That'll be 100 yuan. 100, Naruto exclaimed, looking at the measly amount of food. That's robbery. He grumbled before giving the man his amount of bills. Here Naruto said to his charge as she looked at the rude man. Something wrong? Why was he so mean? She asked, a bit frightened by stall owner's behavior. It's sort of hard to explain. Sometimes people will do that to ya, Naruto said as they found a free table. I hope the food is worth it, at least it's hot. Naruto chuckled as he saw Tianzi blow on the hot stick of poultry. Ah, the girl cutely announced as she took a small bite of the chicken, before smiling brightly. It's so yummy. She then tried the rice and also smiled widely. The rice is great too. Really? Naruto questioned before he too took a bite of his food and was surprised. Japanese ingredients, but with the flair of Chinese cooking. It's well made. Wow, the man might be a dick, but he can sure. Oh shit. Naruto slammed his hands into the table as he saw Tianzi missing. He cried out before quickly standing up. Turning his head from side to side he managed to spot the young girl and sighed in relief, only to once again become alarmed when he noticed her walking up to the rude man's stall. Oh no, he then quickly ran over to her. What are you doing? He panicked. The girl however didn't hear Naruto as she smiled while the rude man looked down at her, not at all intimidated by his glare. You make such wonderful food. I think the palace would definitely invite you as chef if they tried your dishes. At first the man just continued to glare at the child, but after a few moments a small smile appeared on his face. Hey, you think? Well, I tried, but those stuffy eunuchs told me to leave as my love for using foreign ingredients made them think I was a spy. He said coldly as he continued to cook and placed more food for others to buy. Glad that at least not all people think like them. His hand moved towards the girl, making her scared by the gesture until he patted her head. Here, take this to your brother. He gave her some mooncakes. Tell him sorry for the rude look. I just thought he was one of those snotty bigwigs, he said as Tianzi smiled kindly. The mont's own smile became a bit bigger from the sheer cuteness radiating from her. Okay now, go away, before your brother becomes too worried, he said, but not as rudely as before. Okay. Tiazi replied happily before bouncing on her feet and went towards Naruto. Naruto, look. The nice man gave me free mooncakes. Tianzi exclaimed happily before quickly digging into one of the treats. Naruto blinked with a dumbfounded look. This was unbelievable. He never thought that by simply eating tasty food would make Tiazi break out of her shyness, even if for a moment, and approach the rude stall owner so openly. She was way too innocent for her own good, and the eunuchs might take advantage of that. Well, at least this showed him that the young lady is capable of talking to someone besides him and others at the palace. In Naruto's view, her future suddenly became so much brighter. As long as she has the right people protecting her and providing proper advice to her when needed, might I have one? He said, reaching towards the sweets only for her to pull them away. No, she childishly said while pouting, this is your punishment for making those girls bathe me and treat me like a doll. Naruto drawled out. Now she was just being mean. This trip might have leveled her up faster than he thought. Hey, the student of the Shaolin Grandmaster cracked a smile. Glad to see you so happy. It makes your beauty even more radiant, he complimented, making the girl's face turn red in less than a second. Thank you, Naruto, she said while shyly fiddling with her fingers. The young mont's eyes widened as Tiazi's visage was suddenly replaced by a blue-haired girl with pure white eyes. As ridiculous as that sounded, after quickly rubbing his eyes the blonde looked back at the strange girl, only to see the young princess standing before him just as before. Confused, Naruto decided that his mind was simply playing tricks on him. He most likely was more tired than he originally thought from today's training, and from the beatdown he had received. He teased out Tiazi's new name, making the girl blush. Her tummy felt light and funny from the very odd way he said her name. How's your first time outside? He asked as they resumed their walk around the city streets. While gazing at stores, the girl clung onto Naruto's side when the street started to get more populated. The young royal girl gave a warm smile of happiness as she gazed upwards to her first and only friend so far. It was perfect, it was something that I always wanted to do, but neither my bodyguards, nor father ever allowed it. For you, to grant me this wish of mine, it makes me very happy. Tilting her head with halfway closed her eyes, her beauty and cute aura actually outshining the sun. O_0. Naruto suddenly crouched down as he gripped his face. Can't take it. Level of adorableness overload. Cuteness. Too powerful, he squealed out, as did others in the streets as they saw a glimpse of her face. Naruto, are you okay? Standing up after recovering some of his manliness from the sudden cuteness attack, the blonde nodded. Yeah, was just a bit startled by. Oh crap. Naruto swore when he looked at a clock in one of the stores. It was pointing towards 5. We need to get back before those Julius pricks realize we're gone. Julius wa whoaa. The girl comically shouted as Naruto lifted her over his head and ran towards the secret entrance to the palace. I'll tell you when we're older. Naruto shouted as he rushed as fast as his young legs allowed him to. The surrounding people could only watch in awe at how quick the little boy was. XXXXXXXXXX. Line break. XXXXXXXXX. Phew. Made it just in time. He sighed in relief while helping Tianzi to put on her dress after she expressly told him not to let the strange temple girls assist her like they did earlier today. Too tight. He said, unsure if the belt was supposed to be slightly tight or extra tight. A bit more, she sighed, hating the fact she had to attend a party when she and her bodyguard had such a nice outing. She slightly lost her breath of air when the right amount of tightness was applied. Right there, that's tight enough. You can stop. Tianzi ordered her friend. You can also take off the blindfold now. The blonde gave a sigh of relief as he finally did what she said. He had to disrobe her and dress her without sight. Needless to say, It was a bit of a hard task. Good, are you ready, my lady? He inquired, knowing that he will have to stay by her side. She was now less shy when meeting people around the palace. But as long as he was near, I know I may not be the best choice when bringing someone to the party. But I promise not to stand in your way when someone catches your attention. He recited what his teacher said to him. He may be her closest friend, but that is only when they are together alone and not surrounded by nobles or other royalty. If she behaved the same way she does when they are alone, it might cause other people of high status to look down on her, or in worst case disregard her entirely. That's why Naruto always has to make sure that he never puts himself at the same level of status as her. In nobles and royal society, they are not equal. While it was a bit of a contradiction as he made her dress up as a lower-class citizen, but that was on their own time. When it came to political and other royalty things, that's where he has to lower himself for his lady's sake. Even when she hated it and ordered him not to, he simply couldn't, as he made a promise to both her father and Jin. Naruto, Tianzi murmured, can you promise me something? The young man stopped walking as he turned to the person he swore to protect. Yes, Lady Tianzi. Can you stop calling me? She requested after a short pause. Huh, Naruto tilted his head in confusion. I don't want to be called by that name, when it's just the two of us. She looked down as she fiddled with her fancy dress. My real name. Wait, Tianzi wasn't your real name, Naruto said, astonished that all this time he was calling her by whatever Tianzi meant. She shook her head. My real name is given to those who are family, or someone we deeply trust. Really? Naruto pondered. He certainly didn't expect that. So, what's your real name? It's... Stop him. The two children were startled by the sudden shout and turned towards the main entrance door to the palace. There they spotted a large security guard tackling down a long, raven-haired man who wore what appeared to be medical coat used by doctors. Naruto sighed as he had to. Let him go, Tianzi ordered the guard who held the long-haired man. What? The portly man said with a confused look. But your highness, this man broke the law. He not only saved the life of prison inmates, he also wasted medicine and medical equipment that is only reserved for true hospital patients, he declared boldly. Naruto sighed as he remembered how a week ago the palace guards arrested some thugs that were having a fight near the palace wall over some found money. The thugs weren't really that dangerous, they simply had too much to drink and made some poor choices. Normally this wouldn't be such a big of a deal, but unfortunately during the fight those thugs accidentally damaged a vehicle belonging to a noble, and the said noble ordered the guards to punish the thugs before arresting them, which in turn meant a brutal and painful beat-down. Naruto cited as that was a typical case of a noble abusing his power that he shouldn't have had in the first place. He can already guess that one of those thugs' life was in danger because of the beating and the doctor saved it even if he wasn't supposed to by the degree of law. The law stated that criminals cannot receive any care at all. When a criminal is sent to prison, he either dies early if he is put on execution block or dies later because of poor treatment. In prison, criminals only receive bare minimum of food and that's it. No medical care, no form of entertainment or anything that would make their imprisonment at least a bit more bearable. Emperor Yao tried multiple times to change the law, but because of the unstable political situation and nobles' resistance he was never able to implement the changes. Of course, the emperor could try to enforce the changes, but the nobles might use it to their advantage in showing that the emperor is too soft to rule. It is at times like these that Naruto wished that the previous emperor wasn't so lenient towards the nobles. The previous emperor was too kind-hearted and because of it, those in nobility managed to increase their influence in places that should have been strictly regulated by the government. That's why Naruto decided that he was going to stop the guard from punishing the doctor unjustly. However, to his immense shock Tianzi was the one who spoke up. That man was only fulfilling his duty as a doctor as all good doctors should. You cannot arrest him for something as saving a life. He mustn't be punished for it. While the guard was clearly shaken by the princess' sudden outburst, he still tried to maintain his point, but he still broke the law. If he is released without being punished it will set a bad example for others of his profession and encourage disobedience. Doesn't that statement technically apply to you right now? Aren't you disobeying a direct order from royalty? Naruto calmly said, making the guard bristle at having his own words used against him. Look, just let the guy go. This isn't ancient China where even a minor offense was considered to be on the same level of a war crime. Just as Princess Tianzi said, the doctor was doing only what was natural to him, Naruto said while staring straight into the guard's eyes. The guard himself shivered as he felt like he was being stared at by something akin to a demon. After few moments passed, the portly guard nodded in understanding, but still tried to make one final statement in defense of his actions. I was just fulfilling my duties and following the law. Lawbreakers like this doctor are nothing but trash that deserve nothing but swift execution. Naruto glared at this proclamation. Clearly those damned eunuchs' way of thinking has spread among some of the guards, which was never a good sign. Listen, this is your Fina. You are wrong. Naruto's eyes widened as his head snapped towards his lady. This was the first time he heard her raise her voice so loudly, and so openly as well. He wouldn't be surprised if others at the palace heard her. What you are saying is wrong. This doctor is not trash. He is a good man that performed a good deed. He should die because of it. She yelled out, foregoing her etiquette lessons to always be soft-spoken and calm. This made the young boy feel proud at his friend. She was standing up for what she believed was right. Naruto walked forward to stand barely a foot across from the guard and the doctor on the floor. What is your name? It's Hong Ji-yu, sir. The guard said in a frightened voice. From the boy's fancy clothes the guard could tell this youngling was clearly of higher status and could easily punish him for disobeying royalty. Well then, Hong Ji-yu, send this man to the temple. Tell Grand Master Jin that the doctor here should test it if he can be trained to become part of the royal caretakers. He ordered while looking down at the guard. The man is not only dedicated to his duty as a doctor, but his determination allowed him to sneak into prison holding cells and heal a prisoner right under the prison guards' noses. This definitely shows great promise, Naruto said, winking at the prisoner who looked at the boy with hope. If any of those jewel-less nobles want to complain, they can blame it on me. Finally relenting, the guard stood up along with the doctor. The two then walked towards where the temple was while Naruto walked up to the Tianzi, but calling her by that name sounded weird now that he knew it was a fake. You have no idea how proud I am right now, he softly said while Tianzi looked at Naruto. You stood up for what you believed was right and proved that you are not as weak-willed as some might believe. The girl glowed from the high praise she received from her friend, and shortly after looked down while blushing slightly. Lihua. Zhong Lihua. That's my name. Looking back up with gratitude in her eyes. Naruto, can you please call me that whenever we are alone? Please. After hearing her request, the blonde boy smiled and nodded. All right then, Lihua it is, Naruto answered. The young lady, now named Lihua, smiled in return. She then turned around, continued walking towards the party, with the boy following close behind her. From then on, they would never be seen apart, always at each other's side. XXXXXXXXXX. 2 years later. XXXXXXXXX. Naruto, now at the age of 11, strode into the party wearing the same clothes, but slightly adjusted to fit his size. Throughout the years he always made sure to stay close to Lady Lihua and continued his training under Jin as a Shaolin monk. Well, he was unsure if he really was someone would call a monk or not. Maybe Shaolin warrior would be more accurate. He waved at the few nobles that he constantly met during the parties. Gotta try to make fools like him after all. So, is someone special coming here today? Naruto walked towards Jin as Lihua went to her father's side. I haven't seen so many eunuchs here before, the young royal guard in training said as he saw almost all members of the nobility eating and chatting with the other royalty there. Sighed sadly, the Britannia's envoy finally arrived, Jin said with a slightly worried voice, but noticed how Naruto looked at him confused and sighed again. They are the people we are at war with, remember? The blonde nodded. While he was oddly smarter than most kids his age, he was practically alien to the country he was staying in and by extension the world. He learned over time that the Chinese Federation was quite powerful as a country, and that they were fighting against another, more powerful nation called Britannia. I remember, but why are we letting them in if we are fighting against them? The old dance of politics. Jin sighed dramatically as he waved a hand to have a servant bring him and his student drinks. For now, just pretend to like them, he said, passing Naruto a drink. Well, here's to us guardians of the royal family, he toasted. Naruto rolled his eyes as he tapped his glass against his teacher's. He then noticed Tien Lihua smiling at him. He also noticed Emperor Yao patting his chest while his eyes were furrowed slightly in pain. Hey, is Emperor Yao alright? I noticed he hasn't been looking too good lately. I heard that one of the greatest knights of Britannia is bringing over his protege. Make sure to try and become friends with her. We might need allies if anything happens to me, the Grand Master said quickly, making sure Naruto understood how serious his request was. The blonde did so, completely forgetting his previous question as he took the task in a serious manner. Yes, Shifu, the boy acknowledged before moving towards the lady he had sworn to protect while Jin took a deep breath. That was way too close. The Grand Master watched as his student and his emperor's daughter were delightfully chatting, smiling at how close the two were. Make sure to guard her well, Naruto, for I fear that difficult times are awaiting us at the horizon. Jin's eyes turned deadly when he saw the Chinese announcer walk towards the middle of the room. Emperor Yao, I wish to greet Britannia's ambassador, Schneisel L. Britannia. Accompanying him are an elite knight from the Knights of the Round, Lord Alois Foy and his student, Lady Monica Kruszewski. Naruto watched closely as three people walked the red carpet towards the emperor and his daughter. The first person was a very handsome man with fair skin. Corn silk blonde hair that falls across the back of his neck and cold violet eyes. He is extremely tall, wearing a long, royal purple tunic that is bordered with black and gold accents, and across his midsection is a loosely fitting white belt, ending right at his kneecaps, covering a portion of white slacks. Over the top of this is a white overcoat that possessed a stiff, black, high-backed collar that showed a crimson silk inside. To complete the look he had golden epaulettes at his shoulders. The girl following the two men displayed a gentle look on her face. She had straight blonde hair that was tied into two pigtails at the front and wore a white uniform with light green and gold accents. She also wore a skirt that had sword attached on the left side of her belt. Age-wise she was around Naruto's age, maybe a year younger than him. The last person was the oldest among the three, easily at his 30s with a cocky smile on his face. Like the girl he wore a white uniform with a gray robe wrapped around his body. He had held a large sword at his side, something that Naruto had never seen as it was nearly twice the width of the girl's sword. Greetings, Your Majesty Emperor Yao, Schneisel said with a charming smile. I am happy to see you well. The emperor, however, just gave a stoic look at the Britannian. Where is the usual ambassador? I have never seen the likes of you before, Yao inquired while Naruto and Jin gripped hidden knives within their sleeves, ready to throw them at a moment's notice. The man just bowed his head with a sad frown. Unfortunately my mother recently fell ill, so I asked my father to take over her role as temporary ambassador. I have proven myself that I can at least do a similar job as her. I see, Yao nodded. Well then, shall we proceed? Go mingle with the rest at the party and I shall meet with you later on. He waved off as the blonde man nodded in gratitude. He then proceeded to walk towards a table filled with Chinese sweets and snacks while the two uniformed people followed closely at his side. I don't trust him, Naruto said to his teacher who nodded in return. I don't know why, but I get this really strong urge to throw him into the nearest river filled with alligators, he said with a chuckle while Jin shook his head in disappointment. Even as joke said in our country, don't let them catch you saying that, Jin ordered. Besides, even if you wanted to, you wouldn't be allowed to do such a thing. We don't want to add more strain between our two nations as there already is too much of it. Right, the blonde sighed while looking back at the Britannia trio. He was momentarily surprised when he saw the blonde Britannian girl walking towards him. After taking a quick glance at his teacher, who nodded in approval, Naruto also walked up forward. Is there anything I can do for you, my lady? The girl eyed him from head to toe and seemed confused. Why is a Britannian part of the royal court belonging the Chinese emperor? I am afraid I must correct you as I am not a Britannian. Well, technically I am not Chinese either, but I am someone who is dedicated in protecting the emperor's daughter, Lady Tianzi, he stated with a bored tone as the girl glared at him for such a monotone reply. So, are you like me? Super strong or something like that? The girl seemed to at least take that statement well, given her large smile. Indeed. I am a student of the Knight of the Round after all. When I prove worthy of it, and if there is an empty seat, I shall take my place among them, Monica said with great pride in her voice. Ah, well I hope you get it, Naruto chuckled while scratching his head lightly. So does it come with anything like money or ranks? The girl became slightly intrigued at the fellow blonde's question. Well, there was a time when becoming a knight also made you part of the nobility. But I believe when Charles Z. Britannia became emperor he changed that policy as many people abused the system of it. she explained while Naruto nodded for her to continue. While you are given a high position in the military when you become part of the Knights of the Round, but I am unsure of the social status you are granted. I am. Monica, do be careful when blabbing about our secrets to that Chinese filth, the oldest member of the trio said with a smug look as many of the Chinese nobility glared at him. Do try to remember that, if you ever wish to outrank your pitiful father. Naruto didn't say anything as he knew that the man was looking for an excuse to have him bite back. Please, forgive me for my mistakes, sir. The fact is that I am quite empty-headed on the outside. I didn't even know that I was in the Chinese Federation until my teacher saved me, he said while making sure that others heard him. From the outside perspective, the Britannian man will appear as a cruel person for looking down on a confused child. Alois, I suggest you stop trying to insult our gracious hosts, Schneizel ordered while walking up to Naruto with a drink in hand. My apologies, Alois is the embodiment of my country at its current height of power. I can only pray that you can forgive his mistake. It's not a problem, Naruto answered as he did his best not to make a mistake in front of the ambassador. He really had to give it to Emperor Yao and Grandmaster Jin. They have behaved like this for decades while Naruto had to make sure that every word he says cannot be twisted into something that can be used against him. Allow me to properly introduce myself. I am Schneizel L. Britannia, temporary ambassador from the great kingdom of Britannia, he greeted with a bow. And you are? Naruto, he greeted. I don't have a surname, so I hope my first name will suffice. That was a mistake, as the prince gave a sad look. Oh my, why is that? He said while his whole demeanor turned to sadness. This guy was good. I was an orphan and all I can remember was surviving in the middle of the desert. Barely, Naruto stated as simply as possible, but I was saved by my teacher and I am forever grateful that he gave me a place to call home. Your teacher is the current head guard of Emperor Yao, is he not? Schneizel stated with a great smile on his face. I've once seen him best a knight of one in combat, with nothing less than his steel-like fists. Yes he is, but I am afraid his old age will catch up with him soon, Naruto said lying as he knew Jin was still good for another few decades at the very least, so he decided to make me as his apprentice as a precaution. I see, the older teen nodded with a smile that held no ill intentions. Naruto, Tianzi walked up to her bodyguard while he noticed her giving him a slightly annoyed look from not being by her side. Yes, my lady, Naruto asked his friend. Can we go? She asked timidly. Sure, if your father has an. Boom. Asterisk. My lady. Naruto screamed out as he saw the wall furthest away from them explode. He pushed her behind him as the Britannian knights did the same to Schneizel. Where did that come from? The blonde male said while looking back and forth to see if anyone tried to make a move against them. Naruto behind you, Schneizel shouted as the blonde turned to see Tianzi missing. He then quickly spotted a glimpse of her ivory-white hair from behind the window. He ran towards it to see someone leaping over the walls of the palace with great skill and speed. Tianzi. He roared and was about to follow them until Jin grabbed his shoulder. Wait, fuck that, Naruto roared as his eyes momentarily turned red with slits within them before disappearing, shocking the older man in process. I have to protect her. I was never going to stop you, I was merely suggesting you need help, he said while feeling proud at the young boy's sense of duty. Wait, they turned to see the young ambassador and the two knights walking towards them. Please accept our help. I should have expected something like this to happen and been more cautious, he said before raising his hands to let the two knights move ahead of him. Let Monica and Alois also join you, they will be of great help. Naruto tried to protest, but was cut off. Of course, Jin nodded and then turned towards Naruto. I can't leave the Emperor's side because of my duty, so the young ambassador's offer is perfect. This way the Emperor will be protected and you get some assistance. Take it, Naruto. The blonde couldn't argue back as he knew that was true, but he still looked at the three Britannians with cold eyes. This was too good an excuse for them to give him help, but without it he would have a harder time rescuing the young princess. Besides, if they attempt to betray him, he will ensure that they will never return back to their country alive. All right, let's go. With that, the protector of future empress and the two knights left, while the Prince of Britannia concealed a hidden smile. While the new protector was a bit of an unexpected element, it won't make much a difference in his campaign to win his seat on the throne. After all, a mere fighter with no last name can't possibly hope to derail his plans. Under the orange sky of the setting sun, 3 figures could be seen running towards the great temple of the palace, a young blonde boy and 2 noble knights right behind him. Li called out the boy when he spotted some of the temple monks looking at him with serious looks. They mostly likely already heard of the princess kidnapping. I need transportation, the boy ordered while the monk nodded and briskly left. Chen, quickly get me weapon. Any available weapon will do. Just get it fast. Sir, bowed a female monk and quickly left while the remaining monks continued to listen to Naruto's orders. I am not letting those bastards get away with this, the blonde growled. Let's go. Move out. The 2 noble knights, Monica and Alois, were a bit shocked at how quickly the monks obeyed the Naruto's orders. There were no hesitations when they listened to the commands. The said team then looked over his shoulder and gave the knights a cold stare. You guys best be ready. The second you 2 start slowing me down, I will leave you behind. The female would-be knight, Monica, glared at the boy for a moment before taking a breath to calm herself. I know you are greatly worried for Princess Tianzi's safety, but rest assured we will do our best in fulfilling Prince Shinnezel's orders to save her. Alright, but you better keep up, Naruto stated before he quickly left to get other preparations done. He was not going to waste any more time. He will save Tianzi no matter what or hell die trying. Naruto, the first monk came back holding a ring of keys. I got you a ride and some intel. Some of the monks guarding the walls managed to spot the kidnapper and know where he is heading. He's taking the princess towards the place where Shifu found you all those years ago. The wasteland. Why there of all places? Naruto muttered before shaking his head to clear unnecessary thoughts. Move out. Quickly. Where is this place? Alois, the male knight asked as he followed Naruto into a garage-looking building and noticed a run-down jeep in it. Well, are you going to answer, monkey? Sigh before I became a member of the court and was barely, I dunno 7. I was lost in the wasteland and had to kill people for survival. He recounted a memory that now seemed like it was a lifetime ago. After getting inside the jeep he quickly started up the car, enjoying the sound of the engine roar as he floored the gas pedal into its highest gear. It takes nearly 2 hours to reach the wasteland from here, but I know some shortcuts. You killed when you were a kid. Monica cried out from the annoyingly loud engine. She could barely hear Naruto's voice. Didn't have much a choice out there. It was either kill or be killed, Naruto answered, revving the engine before speeding off. That's where Shifu found me. He took me in and made me what I am today. What about your parents? She asked, ignoring the glare she got from her teacher. I rather hope you didn't just run away from home because of something, Stu. I never had any parents, or at least I think I don't have any. The boy roared back while trying to remember which sand dune had his makeshift landmark marking the shortcut. I can't recall any memories before I was 7, nor how I even ended up in that sandy wasteland in the first place. All I know is that when I woke up out there, I was spotted by some bandits who were willingly going to sell me off to be some Chinese lady's little boy toy on the side. I wasn't going to let that happen. A few moments later the boy's eyes shone in recognition. There. Hold on. Naruto turned the jeep sharp left onto a rocky road while Monica grabbed onto her seat as the sudden force nearly flung her away. We should be coming up soon, he informed, knowing that at top speed it wouldn't take them more than an hour to reach their goal. That was rather quick, Monica commented appreciation. I told you, I know shortcuts, Naruto reminded. Alright Chinese boy, since we still have some time, tell me who would want to hurt your little fake princess, Alois said in a condescending tone and then smirked at his clear insult towards the royalty. Screech. Asterisk. Naruto suddenly hit the brakes, stopping the car almost instantly and afterwards grabbed the man by the throat while giving him a death glare. Don't you dare call her fake. He snarled, making the knight flinch slightly at the sight of barely suppressed rage within the boy's eyes. Just because we're working together doesn't mean I won't hesitate to kill you if insult Tianzi's name like that ever again, he stated and then released the knight. Few seconds later, they were speeding down the road again. Alois coughed hard as he held his throat. Fine, then who do you think would dare to kidnap Her Highness, Tianzi? Naruto sighed as he still detected some mockery within the knight's words, but decided to ignore it. For now, I don't know, can't be anybody from our side. Tianzi is still a kid. Not to mention Emperor Yao is still alive, so she doesn't have any political power or say in regards to ruling the country, but they clearly need her alive or they would have killed her the moment they attacked the castle, meaning Meaning that they most likely want to use her as a hostage. Monica finished Naruto's sentence as she understood that much, then radicals maybe. Unlikely. Yao has not done anything crazy to warrant enemy uprising from within. Naruto shook his head at her suggestion. Then perhaps disgruntled terrorists from the outside. Alois stated as he knew that quite a few number countries that had far too many of those criminals, that would add up. No, that can't be it since Shifu and the Emperor have eradicated every terrorist cell close to our borders. The terrorist groups that are further away are already surrounded by too many enemies, and to provoke the dragon would be the same as signing your own death warrant. Naruto stated as he tried to think of any enemies that would want to kidnap Tianzi. Plus, would terrorists even bother taking hostages after successfully infiltrating the castle? The blonde girl gave a look of confusion at Naruto. What do you mean? Think about it. They managed to sneak into a ceremony where some of the country's most important figures, including Prince Shinnezel, were gathered at one place. Why take hostages when you could have easily caused another explosion and take them all out? Naruto informed while staring hard into the distance. Why kidnap the princess when you have a clear shot at taking out most of China's ruling body? Alois nodded at that knowledge. That does make sense. Terrorists are extremists and they would jump at the chance to kill that many important people. Kidnapping the princess would more trouble than it's worth. Maybe they plan to kill her later to set an example. Monica suggested. Did you not just hear us, you idiot? Alois said angrily as the girl cowered at his tone. What kind of an example would that set besides paint bigger target on their backs? Why go for small fish when the lake is full of bigger prey? No, these people knew what they were doing. That is true, Monica agreed, albeit meekly. The enemy most likely knew that royal guards would prioritize Emperor first and the princess would be less protected. Then once again we're back at the main question. Who did it? Alois sighed as he looked behind the car. Are you sure this is the way where the kidnappers went? Positive, Naruto stated resolutely. Alois snarled at the boy's answer and tried to grab the wheel. I don't think you do. There is nothing but dunes of sand around us, so they could be in any direction. Let the experienced one guide you, Hugh. He cried out in pain when Naruto twisted his hand in one quick motion. Back off, asshole. We still have payments left on this baby. Do you have any idea how small a monk's salary is? Naruto shouted before gasping in pain when Alois grabbed his hair. Really? You fight like a little girl. Stop. Monica grabbed the two and with amazing strength separated them. I think I see them. Naruto smiled as he indeed saw a large armored vehicle creating a large dust cloud ahead. Alois himself clicked his tongue in annoyance. Damn it, he actually did find them. All right people, hang on. Naruto exclaimed before revving up the engine up to the maximum. The tires screeched while the engine roared loudly from the increase in speed. Vroom. Asterisk. Shit. Alois cursed as the jeep came up to the side of the enemy vehicle. Once close enough, Naruto pulled out a rod and stuck it in between the wheel to lock it in place. What are you doing? Monica cried out. The blonde's only reply was standing on top of the jeep's roof and then leaping from it to grab onto the armored vehicle. He quickly climbed on top of the machine's roof and pulled out a large blade that the monks had previously placed in the jeep for him. With a quick thrust he stabbed the armored roof and surprisingly it went through. Hope this works, Naruto stated as firmly grasped the handle of the blade and let go of his footing. The instant he did so he was hit with the full force of motion sending him back. But despite that he did not let go of his weapon as it sliced the metal top like a hot knife through butter. Afterwards, he did a quick spin around while still firmly holding the blade and opened the roof like a can opener. What the? The enemy driver looked back and gasped upon seeing the roof cut off. Found ya, Naruto shouted as he looked down to see 9 members, including the driver, staring dumbly at him while Tianzi herself was bound, but otherwise unharmed, sleeping in the passenger seat. The men themselves were dressed in a manner one would expect of typical desert bandits. Raggedy pants, shirts, overcoats and thick shawls wrapped around almost the entirety of their heads except for their eyes that were left uncovered. But Naruto's sharp mind easily discerned that these men were not mere criminals. From the shape of their eyes, body structure and what little skin he could see, Naruto concluded that these men were definitely not of Asian descent, but Caucasian. The biggest giveaway of their false impersonations were the weapons they had. These were almost brand new guns and swords, and from their shape and form the blonde can tell that they weren't made in China, or any other parts of Asia for that matter. those were Western weapons. As a kind gesture for not harming my lady, I will make sure your deaths are quick. Naruto threw his blade at the back of the driver's head, killing him instantly. The now dead driver slumped forward, causing the brakes to hit all at once and turn over the car. While the rest of the fake bandits were panicking, Naruto smiled as he grabbed his charge in midair and held her tightly. By some miracle they landed on the sandy ground as the armored vehicle still tumbled down the rocky road. That, should NT be possible, Monica could not help but mutter in awe after taking control of the jeep wheel. Despite witnessing the whole experience, she still couldn't comprehend it. Thank goodness, Naruto sighed in relief upon seeing the young heiress unharmed and sleeping peacefully in his arms. All right, my lady, let's get you home. His relief was short-lived however, when he had to quickly lay her down to dodge an incoming blade. After rolling a few feet backwards and taking a defensive stance, the blonde stares menacingly at 5 still alive kidnappers with the closest one guarding his liege. All of them had their blades drawn and were standing in formation with proper sword stances, ready to attack at any moment. Yeah, these guys were definitely not some simple bandits or hired mercenaries. They were well-trained and skilled soldiers. Thankfully Monica and Alois came to his side and drew their own swords. Out of curiosity, how good are you two in a fight? I can handle myself, Monica answered curtly while getting into her own sword stance. Against these ruffians, this is nothing, Alois added, before pulling on his collar. If all they are capable of knocking out a defenseless girl, then they won't stand any chance against a knight of the round. Good, because we're ending this now, Naruto stated as he pulled out his blade and rushed forward. XXXXXXXXXXX. Imperial Palace of the Chinese Emperor. Bedroom of the Royal Family. XXXXXXXXXXX. Jin, Yao silently called out while frowning heavily. Yes, sire, Jin answered his king and friend. The two were on the balcony that was part of a room that once belonged to Yao's beloved late wife. Am I at fault for selfishly choosing her as my one true wife? The emperor asked while staring at the beautiful star-filled night sky, a sky that he once shared with the love of his wife. What do you mean? Jin asked confused. Were you not happy with her? Of course I was, and still am, but as beloved by the commoners she was. We both know that many of my ideas of change for our country were mostly conceived because of her. By hearing of her painful past, of how she was used by her own parents to escape the poor lives they lived, it made me realize how sheltered life of a royal member really is, Yao stated while remembering how much an influence she was on him. And, you believe that all bad that has happened to her, and is now happening to Yanzi is part of some sort of punishment for the choices you made? Jin questioned in disbelief. You know, I always hated my father. Yao gave a small smile despite his words. He had bedded a lot of women in his life and had never done anything good for either his people or the country, and yet, he loved me more than anything and considered me as his only true child, just because I was able to outclass all of my siblings when it came to the succession of the throne. Sire, Jin gave a saddened look, none of this is your fault. Really, do you remember what he did to my siblings after announcing me as the heir to the throne? He disowned all of them, threw them out to the streets, and those tried resist, had met even sadder fates. After he passed away and my time to rule had arrived, I did everything I could to not end up like him. I dedicated my life towards the betterment of our country, and instead of continuously gaining more wives just for the sake of pleasure, I singled out one out of many and made her the empress. I thought I did all for the right reasons, as from the bottom of my heart I truly loved her and love her still, and yet, Yao gave a soft sigh at the twisted sense of irony of trying to become a better man, but losing so much more in return. Jin became silent as he knew what his friend was going to say next. Yet, I still failed to resist one of the most important of temptations. After all, Tianzi is not my true firstborn. XXXXXXXXXXX. Sand Wastelands. XXXXXXXXXX. Grr. The blonde warrior gritted his teeth as he barely managed to get some ground against his opponents. At first, Naruto thought that these pretenders were on a level of skilled soldiers, but he was wrong. These guys were clearly elites. Out of 5 of them Naruto managed to kill 2, but at the cost of some injuries and exhaustion. He was lucky that most of the wounds he received were either short, but deep cuts or long, but shallow cuts. No disabling or fatal injuries so far, but that might change as he prepared to engage the third kidnapper. Note to self, Make sure to bring plenty of backup next time, and better weapons, the blonde muttered to himself. He then looked towards Monica and Alois to see how they are doing. The female Britannian was doing surprisingly well. She might only be facing off against one opponent, but out of all kidnappers he was the biggest size and judging from his swordsmanship, the most skilled one as well. Naruto spotted numerous wounds on the kidnapper and it was clear that Monica was on the winning side. She really does prove her mettle as an apprentice for the Knights of the Round. Alois on the other hand was facing off against two opponents and from the looks of it, was stuck in stalemate. He was clearly skilled, but his enemies chose to use the surround and bait tactic. While one of them engages Alois in front, the other one goes around and tries to attack from behind. The male Britannian knight would have no choice but to disengage and create some distance to dodge the sneak attack. It seemed that Naruto had been lucky in regards that the two opponents he had killed before had both engaged the boy in a frontal assault, allowing Naruto to track their movements more easily. After catching his breath, Naruto decided to assist Monica first. Once they kill off the big guy, the two of them will be able to assist Alois in his battle, but just as the boy was about to make his move, Alois did something unexpected. Gah! Naruto was in disbelief as Alois suddenly got behind Monica and before she could turn around, he hit her hard on the head with the pommel of his sword, knocking her out. Afterwards he smiled darkly at the bodyguard of Tianzi. Well, that certainly took longer than expected, even lost some good people, he said while chuckling lightly. Soon after, the smile disappeared and was replaced by an intense, hate-filled glare. I must commend you. I sincerely thought that you wouldn't be able to catch up to the escape vehicle, or even best some of my best men. Naruto clutched his blade harder as he glared at the traitorous knight. If looks could kill, then everything in his line of sight would have been incinerated. Bastard! You're part of this kidnapping. Naruto growled. Well, of course, how else we were supposed to create a peaceful resolution? The man sighed as if explaining something easy to a young child. You call this peaceful? Naruto muttered darkly. Why would kidnapping Tianzi lead to peace between our nations? What would you gain from this? At this point his eyes were about to shoot beams of flames at the traitor. Sight, that's why I hate dealing with backwater countries such as this. You people will never understand. Alois frowned while shaking his head. What's there to understand? You kidnapped Tianzi. Plain and simple, Naruto stated, slowly positioning himself in front of the body of the princess so he would be able to protect her better. The strong need to shepherd the weak so that everyone could live in peace. The knight smiled kindly. Your nation is full of scheming and corruption, old outdated ways of life. Only the holy light of the Great Britannia Empire can set you on the right path, otherwise, you all will be left behind. Says the guy who comes from a royal family that marries its own cousins and often kill each other, despite the blood they share. Oh, and let's not forget about the giant asshole you call the emperor who has a severe superiority complex. I mean, that hairstyle makes him look like a monkey. Ah ha ha. Naruto insulted the knight's country while making monkey sounds. If he were to fail and die today, then he will at least ensure that he got some kicks in, both physical and verbal. Alois felt a blood vessel in his vein pop while his eyebrow and the corner of his lip twitched madly in anger. I always wondered why he marries so many women, but doesn't have as many children. Guess that's just his way of compensating. The blonde started before quickly jumping back to avoid a wild sword slash from Alois. Oh, struck a nerve, did I? How dare you insult his royal majesty? Alois fumed. I will have your head on a platter. That monkey eats brains. I thought they eat whoops. Naruto tried to mock, but was forced to duck in order to avoid a wild slash from a big Britannian soldier in disguise, the same one who previously faced off against Monica. Naruto then quickly spun around while still crouching, with his blade extended. The big Britannian cried out in pain when he felt one of his legs get cut off, before he could fully crumble to the ground. With a quick slash Naruto cut his throat. One down, 3 more to go. I thought you would be more educated due to your upbringing by Master Jin, but all I see is yet another savage that needs to be put down. Alois snapped after witnessing another one of his men dying to the blonde bastard. With a roar of a beast he charged forward, lunging his sword at Naruto again. However, Naruto showed no fear and instead was smiling. It was true that when Naruto was around his Shifu he always had to fight in a more honorable way so his teacher wouldn't lose face. But on the inside, he was a dirty fighter, someone who was willing to create and use any advantage by any means necessary. When it comes to protecting his lady, Naruto will never hold anything back, savage am I. Well, you're in for a terrible shock when you find out how savage I can really get, he declared while moving away from another slash. Then, when the noble knight prepared to deliver a downward slash, Naruto grabbed by the hand a silently approaching disguised Britannian and pulled him forward, making him take the hit instead. Aloy's eyes widened as his face was splattered by the blood of his ally and barely managed to block in time some incoming throwing knives, but the last remaining Britannian soldier standing behind him wasn't so lucky. Now it was just him and the blonde bastard left standing. After wiping his eyes clean of the blood, he glared with pure murder at Naruto. Damn you, you disgusting savage, is there no low you want sink to? Alois raged. I don't know, is there? I am always prepared to do a lot worse than this, Naruto stated, and it was true. He did remember killing people in their sleep when he was still all alone in the desert. Bastard, it's about time someone teaches you how a real warrior fights. Alois snarled before rushing in and thrusting his sword in quick successions, surprising the young man at the power and speed behind them. Whoa, watch it, missed me, try again, Naruto mocked while dodging every swing, purposely insulting him too. Drip, drip, after quickly creating some distance, the blonde glanced down slightly and saw a small wound appear on his chest. Okay, you nicked me, good for you, he said jokingly, but inwardly he was panicking. It seems that Alois was slowly regaining his focus and was no longer making simple mistakes. While the Britannian warrior might not be on the same level as Jin, he is still a fully fledged veteran who fought in major wars. Whatever experience Naruto had accumulated up until now is nothing compared to a battle-hardened knight of the round. HMPH, there is no point pretending. You may act confident, but your posture betrays you. I will admit, taking out a small group of elite soldiers is not an easy task, especially for someone so young, but you have reached your limits. The accumulated wounds are starting to take their toll on your body, and the more this fight drags on, the more exhausted you get. I, on the other hand, have plenty of strength to spare. Surrender now and I might just spare your life, Alois smugly declared. Man, you sure do talk a lot when you are off the leash, huh? Is your tactic to talk me to death? Naruto jokes. Before the knight had a chance to retort, the blonde rushed at him with as much speed as he could muster. For a fraction of a moment Alois was slightly surprised at the sudden burst of speed from the boy, but then quickly recovered and made a horizontal slash, hoping to bisect the blonde, and again was surprised when instead of ducking under the swing, the boy jumped high in the air with his feet just barely avoiding the edge of the sword. Not wasting any time, Naruto quickly swung down his blade, hoping to cleave his enemy's head in two. Unfortunately, the knight was able to react in time, brought up his sword to parry. The two weapons collided in that moment. Naruto's luck seems to have run out as the next moment, his blade snapped. After landing on the ground, Naruto quickly jumped back and put some distance between himself and his opponent. He then looked at the remaining handle of his now broken blade and tossed it aside. Alois smirked at boy's action. So, what are you going to do now, boy? Your weapon has failed you and your strength continues to fade. I will once again offer you the chance to surrender, as it wouldn't feel quite right to kill a defenseless child, but I am prepared to make an exception. Yeah, Naruto sighed as he looked at the bright full moon. Damn, this is taking too long. I gotta finish this fast before my body finally gives out. Hang in there just a bit longer. Tianzi. He looked back to see his charge still sleeping silently and smiled kindly at how peaceful she looked. After a few moments passed, the boy approached one of the dead bodies of the disguised Britannian soldiers and picked a short sword from the ground next to it. TCH, Western weapons are so heavy. He slightly complained at the fact that they had no real beauty or elegance. But, my nation's pride is second to my duty as Tianzi's protector. Weapons are only for killing after all, so who cares about aesthetics? What makes you think you can protect her all on your own? Alois questioned as he slowly approached Naruto with his sword poised to strike. I met someone, a long time ago, back when I was still surviving alone in the desert. She had been the strongest person I had fought before I met Shifu. Naruto said while smiling at the memory. Even after all this time, I can still clearly recall her exact words after our battle ended in an overwhelming victory for her. Those who want to achieve their goals must get rid of anything in their path, or less they should never dream of it. With those words, Naruto leapt forward once more while throwing the short sword at the knight. causing his opponent stop as his track to block the projectile. After landing in front of him, Naruto quickly grabbed the fallen short sword and sent dozens of strikes and kicks at the man, who had no choice but to block the attacks, as parrying was not an option. This brat, how is he still able to move like this? Alois was slightly stunned at the sheer skill the kid kept showing him. It was a damn shame he wasn't born in Britannia. He would have achieved a far greater status there than anything he could have ever gained in this backwater country. With great force the knight used the pommel of his sword to knock away the blonde's weapon. Now all he has to go. Naruto smiled as his fist broke through his chainmail clothing. Surprise barehanded attack, success. Sorry, it appears that I am still lacking in technique, Shifu. XXXXXXXXXXX. Flashback. Last year. XXXXXXXXXX. Damn it, I lost. Naruto gasped out while glaring at Jin, who was towering over him. To the side, Tianzi was looking at the blonde with horror-filled eyes, but that is to be expected since he was heavily bruised and covered in his own blood. Today was one of the days Jin decided to test blonde's progress and to see if he was ready to graduate from being an apprentice. Needless to say, Naruto had failed, miserably. You're not ready yet, Naruto, Jin sighed. The boy was certainly improving, but he was still far from becoming a true warrior. One more time, I can do this, Naruto grunted, struggling to his feet, but before he could fully stand, his legs gave out from too much strain and the young man collapsed to his knees. Enough, Jin ordered, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder. No need to overexert yourself, you're simply going to hurt yourself more. But it's not fair, Naruto shouted while looking down. I trained day and night to master the style you taught me, yet you were able to beat me so easily. I wasn't able to land even the smallest of hits. He ranted before exhaustion finally got the better of him, his vision getting blurry. Tianzi quickly rushed to his side and gently laid him on his back while being mindful to not touch any of his bruises. There's more to this style than meets the eye, Jin stated mysteriously, his eyes gaining a far-off look, something that you must discover on your own. Jin, I think it's time to tell Naruto the truth. The three were startled when they suddenly heard Emperor Yao's voice. The monks that had gathered to spectate the match quickly bowed in respect. I know you like to put on the act of an ancient master from a far-off land, but this is starting to get old. Your fighting style isn't of Chinese origin. Your Highness, Jin frowned with a slight pout on his face. It was surprising that a man with such advanced age could do that and actually pull it off. What do you mean, father? Tianzi asked, and the answer she received was a mere pat on the head. Now it was her turn to pout in childish annoyance. Yeah, what do you mean it's not of Chinese origin? Naruto furrowed his brows. Jin looked sternly at the gathered monks and all of them quickly vacated the area. Sigh, I suppose I've waited long enough. Naruto, unlike Emperor Yao, I am not a full-blooded Chinese. In fact, I have some Japanese blood in me just like you, from what I can tell. So you are of mixed heritage, but does that really matter? Tianzi stated honestly, surprising others by how honest her opinion was. Haha, well said, Lady Tianzi, Jin commented with a wide smile. The next moment his expression turned dead serious. Unfortunately, the same opinion is not shared among the rest of the nobility. The corrupt part, to be more precise. If the eunuchs were to learn of my heritage, they would use all available ancient traditions and laws just to remove me from your father's side. It would also create a perfect opportunity for them to place one of their own people in my position instead. I cannot stress enough how important it is that this knowledge remains a secret. Now, enough of this serious mood and let's get to the reason I was kicking your ass so easily. Jin, Uncle Jin, Dick, an exasperated Yao, a disappointed Tianzi, and snidely pissed Naruto complained at the same time. You see, before I became the Emperor's guardian, I used to live in Japan and had spent most of the time there learning and perfecting various martial arts styles of ancient Japan. When I finally moved to China, I started incorporating various Chinese materials arts so no one would be able to recognize my mastery at Japanese techniques, Jin explained while stroking his beard. But what does that have to do with anything? Naruto crossed his arms in annoyance, only to wince in pain the next second after his body reminded him that he is still injured. Naruto, what I have been teaching you? Jin asked. How to turn the human body into a tasty paste. Naruto said in all honesty. Ew. Tianzi turned slightly blue after remembering how much Naruto bled during the test. That's A bit of an extreme answer, but looking at your current state I can sort of understand why would you think that. Yao's sweat dropped. HMPH, cheeky brat. No, Naruto, Jin stated and afterwards pulled out his sword. In today's world, almost all battles are fought with some sort of weapon always being used, but did you know that the most traditional Chinese martial arts did not rely on weapons? No blades, no lances or any other types of weapons. Don't forget about the rage, one of the deadliest weapons of them all, Naruto said with a peaceful smile. The two older men looked at Blonde oddly. My point being, Jin cleared his throat, when it comes to battle. What you need is not honor, but options. It's the reason why the monks here don't just train in materials, but also learn various other things like poison making, engineering, and other useful skills. If used right, each skill gained can be used as a hidden ace against your enemy, he elaborated. He then took a few bricks and stacked them all into a small tower. After taking a deep breath, the old warrior split the small tower in half with a single, but fluid chopping motion using his hand. Japanese, Chinese, Britannian, all fighting styles can be used as long as they help you in achieving victory. Do you understand? So, what you are saying is that the reason I lost was because I focused too much on a single aspect of combat instead of trying to find other ways I could have improved myself, Naruto answered after thinking for a bit. Exactly, it's just like that old saying, fight smarter, not harder, Jin quoted. A moment later, a savage smile appeared on his face. Now, my young student, go get yourself cleaned and healed, for tomorrow your real training begins. First, I will teach you how you can kill someone using a simple pencil. XXXXXXXXXXX. Current time. XXXXXXXXXX. Shit, that hurts, Naruto complained in pain while his left arm fell lifelessly to his side. His right hand gripped the now useless limb. I knew that there would be consequences for pushing myself like that, but still, it hurts so much more than I expected. Damn, Alois wheezed in pain after spitting out some blood, shocking Naruto at how the knight somehow survived his trump card. If I hadn't leaned back as much as possible at the last second, your fist would have completely shattered my ribs, piercings my lungs, and possibly my heart as well. That was the idea, Naruto answered calmly despite his surprise attack failing to deliver death. But the protector of princess is not out of options yet. From the way you talk, I can only guess that you already knew about this technique, right? We were given a full dossier about you and your abilities before our mission began, yet your strength is much greater than I had anticipated, but it's still not enough. But rest assured, your princess will know that you died fighting like a man. Sorry to disappoint, but I am not dying here today, but I can't say the same about you, Naruto declared as he threw a round object at Alois, one bomb coming right at Ya. Alois scoffed as he gently slapped away the thrown item, as if I would ever fall for. The monk's eyes slowly widened in horror when he realized that he actually slapped away a grenade. Shit. Boom. Asterisk. After rolling away from the explosion, the knight's eyes squinted as he was nearly blinded by sand and black smoke. Damn kid. Where did he get that explosive? Die asshole. Alois smirked as he turned in time to where Naruto's voice came from. Fool, when you try to launch sneak attack on someone, always keep your mouth shut. The knight quickly sliced the shadowy figure behind him. Goodbye, monkey. But when the smoke cleared, his eyes widened at what he had actually cut, and few milliseconds later, he felt an increasingly stinging sensation. He looked down and spotted a silver blade stabbing into his chest. Damn brat, and your savage tricks, Alois said as he fell back onto the ground, motionless. What the knight saw during his last moments was a bisected body of a disguised Britannian soldier with Naruto standing not too far behind it. During the chaos caused by the blast, the blonde took the nearest enemy corpse and used it to take the hit. Alois' instincts were too sharp and an open sword attack would have definitely failed, but the knight couldn't have predicted the blonde stabbing him through the corpse. The guardian of the emperor's daughter visibly shook after realizing just how close to death's door he was during the entire battle. He literally had to pull out everything just to kill one man. That. Why? Naruto's eyes widened in shock and he quickly turned around to see a horrified Monica standing a few dozen feet away, eyes filled with fear from looking at the scene before her. Her teacher, Alois, laying dead on the ground, and a Shaolin warrior holding a blood-dripping blade. Why, you bastard? He was my teacher, and you killed him. And no, this is not what it looks like. The teen tried to explain. Naruto. The blonde heard his teacher's voice and turned to see the Chinese military and Britannia forces quickly surrounding them while Jin along with Emperor Yao walked directly towards him. Don't say anything. But, not a word. Jin stared hard at his student before directing his stare at the smirking corpse of Alois. You don't need to explain anything, we already know that this man had a hand in kidnapping our emperor's child. Alois, that can't be right, it's not possible, Monica muttered in shock. The Knight of the Round might have been an arrogant man and often hateful towards outsiders, but he was also a fair teacher and would have never betrayed Britannia's allies. Monica. The girl's head snapped to the side to see her prince walking towards her. Once he was close enough, he placed his hand on her shoulder and spoke in a concerned voice. Are you well? I am terribly sorry for what has happened to your teacher. Don't worry, I swear on my name that justice will be served. A murderous aura surrounded Jin as he wanted to kill the prick of a prince right there and then, but he stayed his hand as he knew that repercussions would be far too severe. What did you just say? Alois was conspiring to kidnap Princess Tianzi. What proof do you have? Schneisel's smile was the dictionary picture of a perfect Prince Charming. In fact, the surrounding evidence points towards Naruto being the main culprit. Of course, it might have also been an accident. Naruto could have fatally wounded Alois when he bisected the kidnapper and not expected the honorable knight get caught in the attack. The prince explained kindly as Naruto's heart dropped at the fellow blonde's words. Then again, it is quite possible that Naruto himself might have the mastermind behind this whole. The schemer quickly shut his mouth when he felt an invisible heavy pressure befall upon him. It's as if he was being pressed down by an entire mountain. He shakily tilted his slightly to the side and what greeted him were the glaring eyes of Emperor Yao. No longer soft or hard, but just ice-cold eyes with barely restrained fury behind them. I would advise you to keep that possibility to yourself. Ambassador, an official investigation must be conducted first before coming up with conclusions. The investigation will be carried out by Britannia and our own people, just to ensure that you will be doing a thorough job. The dead bodies will be taken to our city so we can run tests as quickly as possible, the Emperor commanded, leaving no room for objections, and also ensuring that Schneizel wouldn't be able to take advantage of this situation. After recomposing himself, the prince turned away. Fine, he said before taking a moment to regain his perfectly calm smile. Lady Monica, he got the attention of the female knight. Please come with us and give your statement, we need everything to be fair and true. The blonde girl gave a silent nod as she walked away with the prince. As for Naruto, things have turned grim. Not only did he kill a member of the Round Table, his credibility to prove that he was in the right was in jeopardy. It didn't help that Monica only saw the last moments of his fight with Alois, making it much more difficult to prove his innocence. Naruto. His mind snapped out of his despair-inducing numbness to see Tianzi waking up with a soft smile. Despite the tired state she was in, you saved me. The blonde's eyes widened in shock, before softening and a kind smile graced his lips. Quickly walking up he reached out and placed his hands gently on her own. Seeing her smile became even brighter, filled his heart with warmth. Lihua, my princess, he softly called her name. Despite everything that happened today, and no matter what might come next, this moment of warmth between them was worth it all. Naruto, Lihua whispered and gently grasped his hands. The stars of the night sky seemed to shine a bit brighter just for the two of them. XXXXXXXXXX. Imperial Palace of the Chinese Emperor. Royal Dining Room. A few days after the incident. XXXXXXXXXXX. Still nothing. Naruto said as he, Lihua, Jin, and Emperor were dining, while the others were eating, while the blonde barely touched his Peking duck. The Emperor shook his head. Yes, the investigation has revealed no evidence that can be directly used against us, nor Britannia, unfortunately, which now leaves the question: will they let the death of Alois go? Tianzi stopped eating as she looked down in shame, knowing that she was the reason why the mood in the palace was sour as of late. Princess, this is not your fault, Jin assured. You have done nothing to cause any of what had transpired yesterday. Indeed, if we only had some proof to show that Britannia was involved in the kidnapping, it would have shown the world how dirty that country really is, her father stated as he knew that Britannia was full of itself due to their numerous conquests, but as it stands now, we're at a stalemate. It's to the point where we might even have to go to war. Naruto nodded as he took a small piece of his meal and chewed on it slowly. Jin and Yao never thought they would see the day where the blonde wouldn't be his energetic self, and this made them hate Britannia even more. And Naruto, let's go to the city. I want to see the city like last time, Tianzi suggested with a smile and shook Naruto's arm in an attempt to get him excited, but he didn't budge and just continued to slowly eat with a despondent look. It seemed that the events from few days ago were weighing down heavily on his mind. Lihua, let Jin take you, I need to talk to Naruto, it's important, the emperor said. Tianzi was hesitant to comply, but from the serious look in her father's eyes she knew there was no room for argument. She felt Jin place his hand on her shoulder and looked up to see him smiling reassuringly. She worriedly glanced at Naruto for one final time and then let herself be escorted out to the room. My emperor, what's gonna happen to me? Naruto asked slowly. Ever since he returned to the palace the slow feeling of dread was continuously building up inside him. He desperately wanted to know what will be done with him, if only for the peace of mind. Naruto, before we talk, there is someone I want you to speak with first, as much as I wish for it not to be true, but this person is the one who is responsible for placing this heavy burden upon your shoulders. Huh? Naruto looked confusingly at the emperor. Before could ask more, he heard someone enter the room and slowly approaching the table. Naruto turned his gaze towards the unknown newcomer and wondered how is this person responsible for his plight. XXXXXXXXXX. In the homeland of Britannia. A few days after the incident. XXXXXXXXXX. Schneisel. The blonde prince lowered his head as he was kneeling in front of his father, Charles Z. Britannia, the 98th emperor of the Holy Land. The man sat on his grandiose throne and at the sides stood few members from his family and the military, who were called to witness this meeting. Yes, father. Is it true that Alois is dead? The white-haired man asked in an authoritative voice. The emperor had read the report in regards to the incident in China, and needless to say, he was not happy about it. Yes, father, Schneisel confirmed while lowering his head even more. So, because of your actions, we have lost one of our elite knights, Charles stated in even tone. I have planned this, the prince said, knowing full well that his father was always aware of his schemes. The blonde clenched his fists hard, and if one were to look closely at his eyes, they would see traces of burning anger within them. Explain yourself, the emperor ordered. If everything went well and according to the original plan, you would have been spared the embarrassment of this shame. Why do this now? What could you have possibly achieved from this? I believed that we could have ended the fighting with the Chinese Federation, by taking away something that the emperor values the most, Schneisel answered, trying his best to hide his true intentions, but the imposing glare from Charles still forced the truth out of him. You would have put the Chinese emperor's daughter into our custody and held her hostage. Charles questioned with narrowed eyes, and you would let the shame follow us. The shame would have never been ours if someone else was accused of the plan, the blonde prince explained with a smile. I was assured that a patsy would have been found to take the blame. A scapegoat, and who, pray tell, is this person who helped you with the plan? Charles asked as the prince shook his head. The blonde stood up and stared directly into his father's in the eyes. I promised to keep my accomplice's name a secret, in the off chance that we were to be caught. I see, Charles said, his eyes still narrowed. So how do you propose to fix this problem? Because of you, our two nations will face inevitable war, he stated, but on the inside, he wasn't really worried since that outcome wasn't a problem for him and his empire. They are the strongest in the world and will defeat any opposing force. The main problem in that formula was that if they do invade, then truth regarding the incident in China will be exposed, destroying his country's image and might even cause revolts in already conquered nations. Simple. We take away one of their greatest future assets, Schneisel answered with a smirk. What would that be? The emperor raised an eyebrow in inquiry. We take away the apprentice of Master Jin, Schneisel elaborated. It is well known that while Jin has many students, he never truly had a true successor, until now, by taking away his apprentice. We are effectively removing the future replacement for their greatest warrior and the guardian of their future ruler. This will also have an effect on their morale as well. I've seen how people look at him there, the young man explained, remembering Naruto's strong relationship with royal family. Even though the boy himself said he wasn't close to them, the soldiers and guards treated him with respect, while some of the nobles were already wary of him. Thanks for watching.